Have you ever felt God calling you to move forward, but fear tried to hold you back? Maybe it was starting something new. Maybe it was leaving behind something comfortable. Maybe it was stepping into the unknown when you couldn't see the full picture. Faith often sounds beautiful until it requires movement. Taking a step of faith can feel overwhelming because it means trusting God beyond what we can see. It means moving forward even when fear whispers questions like, what if I fail? What if I'm not ready? What if this doesn't work out? But throughout my life, I've learned something powerful. God has never failed me. There have been many moments when I had to trust Him without knowing the outcome. Moments when I felt uncertain, moments when fear was real, moments when obedience felt difficult. Yet every single time, God proved faithful. When I look back over my journey as a Christian, I can clearly see His hand. I can see the doors He opened. I can see the strength He gave me. I can see the protection I didn't always understand in the moment. I can see how His plans were greater than my fears. Isaiah 41:10 says, Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee. What a promise. God never asks us to move forward alone. He goes before us. He strengthens us. He equips us for what He has called us to do. Sometimes the hardest part is simply taking that first step. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 reminds us, Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. That means we do not have to understand every detail. We do not need to have every answer. We simply need to trust the one who does. Faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is moving forward despite fear because we trust God more than our uncertainty. When God is calling you higher, the enemy often uses fear to keep you stuck. But fear is not from God. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7 says, For God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. So, if you're feeling afraid, remember, God's presence is greater than your fear. God's promises are stronger than your doubts. God's plan is bigger than your uncertainty. Sometimes we need to pause and reflect on God's faithfulness in our past so we can find courage for our future. Think about your own life. Remember the prayers He answered. Remember the seasons He carried you through. Remember the times He made a way when there seemed to be no way. The same God who was faithful then is faithful now. Hebrews 13:8 says, Jesus Christ, the same yesterday and today and forever. He does not change. His love does not fail. His purpose for your life remains. So whatever step of faith God is asking you to take right now, take it. Trust Him. Move forward. Pray through the fear. Walk in obedience. Because often your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of your faith. You may not know every detail ahead, but you can trust the one writing your story. God sees the bigger picture. He knows the plan, and His plans are good. They are perfect. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 says, For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Today, choose faith over fear. If God has called you, He will sustain you. If God has placed it on your heart, He will provide. If God is leading you forward, you can trust Him. Your past testimonies are reminders of His future faithfulness. So keep walking. Keep trusting. Keep believing. God is not finished with your story. And the same faithful God who brought you this far will continue leading you every step of the way. There are seasons in life when faith requires even more from us. Not just one step, not just one prayer, but an ongoing decision to keep trusting God day after day, even when the road feels long. Sometimes we think faith is one big moment, but often faith is built in the daily choices we make. It's choosing to trust God when prayers seem unanswered. It's choosing to obey when the path feels uncertain. It's choosing to believe His promises when circumstances seem discouraging. Real faith is often tested in the waiting. Waiting can be one of the hardest parts of the Christian walk because we naturally want clarity. We want immediate answers. We want visible direction. But God often develops our faith in seasons where we must depend on Him completely. And I can relate to that. In this recent season, my husband and I have had to wait on Him so completely. It's been deepening our faith with God and with our love for each other. Psalm 27:14 says, "Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and He will strengthen your heart." Waiting does not mean God has forgotten you. Waiting does not mean God is absent. Sometimes waiting is where God strengthens you for the very thing you've been praying for. In my own life, I've seen how God's timing has often been different than my own. There were moments I wanted answers immediately, moments when I wanted doors to open faster, moments when I questioned why things felt delayed. But looking back, I can see that God was preparing me. He was building my character. He was strengthening my trust. He was protecting me from moving ahead before the right time. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11 says, "He has made everything beautiful in His time." His timing is perfect even when we don't understand it. Sometimes stepping out in faith means surrendering our timeline and trusting His. That can be difficult, especially when the world tells us to rush, to force, to control outcomes. But faith teaches us surrender. Surrender means saying, "God, I trust you more than I trust my own understanding. God, I believe your way is better than mine. God, even when I cannot see what you are doing, I know you are working." Romans 8:28 reminds us, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God." Not some things, not only easy things, but all things, even the setbacks, even the delays, even the painful seasons. God can use every part of our journey for His glory. Sometimes fear tells us that one wrong move will ruin everything, but God's grace is greater than our mistakes. When our hearts are surrendered to Him, He guides us, redirects us, and continues to work in our lives. Psalm 37:23 says, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord." That means your life is not random. Your calling is not accidental. Your journey is not without purpose. God is ordering your steps every day, every moment. Even when the future feels unclear, you can trust that God sees beyond what you can see. Think about Abraham. God called him to leave behind everything familiar and go to a land he had never seen. Hebrews 11 verse 8 says, "By faith Abraham obeyed, and he went out, not knowing whither he went." He didn't have all the answers. He didn't know every detail, but he trusted God enough to obey. That is what faith often looks like. It means saying yes before knowing every outcome. It means trusting God's voice over your fears. It means believing that obedience will always lead to something greater than comfort. And while faith may feel risky, disobedience can often cost you far more. How many blessings do we miss when fear keeps us from moving forward? How many opportunities are delayed when doubt keeps us stuck? God has plans, assignments, and blessings connected to your obedience. This is why courage matters. Joshua 1:9 says, "Be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid, for the Lord thy God is with thee whithersoever thou goest. Notice that God didn't say there would be no challenges. He said not to fear because he would be with us. His presence is the source of our courage. So when fear rises, remember who walks with you. When uncertainty comes, remember who leads you. When doubt whispers, remember God's promises. Faith grows stronger when we consistently remember his faithfulness. Every testimony from your past becomes fuel for your future. Every answered prayer becomes a reminder. Every victory becomes evidence. Every difficult season you survived becomes proof that God was there. We need to intentionally rehearse God's goodness. David did this in the Psalms, and we can do the same thing. When fear tries to overwhelm you, go back and remember. God is good, and he is always faithful all the time.